Welcome in, everyone. This is episode 7 of the Altitude Problems podcast. I am Big Country alongside my partner, PV. How's it going, buddy?
Going good. How you doing?
Could be better. Could be worse. Chilling. How's your week going so far?
It's going pretty good. It's been a pretty fun week of sports, honestly. Obviously, not much for Denver to be rooting for, but outside of that, as a general sports fan, still quite a lot to be watching.
Yeah, definitely. Not too much happening outside of the NBA finals and the NHL Stanley Cup finals, but certainly some things to watch and root for as far as Denver goes. But let's get straight into it. Talk to me a little about your F1.
Yeah, so we saw the Monaco Grand Prix happen this past weekend. It was a pretty exciting race, obviously, with all the new regulations that we have going on this year. It was very different from past years. Past years, you saw a whole lot of cars tractoring behind each other, not many overtakes going on. But this year, with all the new regulations and a lot of different safety cars and crashes, we actually saw quite a bit of action. So we ended up seeing Kimi Antonelli win his 5th straight. At just 19 years old, he becomes the youngest driver to win the Monaco Grand Prix since Lewis Hamilton, who last did it when he was 23 years old. And speaking of Lewis Hamilton, he did also slide into second place in the Drivers' Championship because in that same race, George Russell had another issue and ended up not finishing in points due to penalties, ended up getting backed up all the way to 14th, and so because of that has fallen even further down in the Drivers' Championship, allowing Lewis Hamilton to slide into second and Kimi to take a big lead in first.
Okay. I mean, as far as like F1 goes, like, is there any guy that you'd want to see on that like side of racing to like maybe make like a transfer and see if they could like dominate like American like NASCAR racing?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a different type of racing, so I honestly couldn't see them dominating in a different type of racing. That is more so like NASCAR. I think NASCAR is just a whole different breed from F1. But obviously, maybe if they made a different transition into a different type of race car type of motorsport. So, for example, we've seen Verstappen in the past race just simple like motorsport cars like Lamborghinis and stuff against other people, and so he's really good at stuff like that. And so I bet that drivers could do certain things like that where it's kind of like track car next to car type of things rather than NASCAR. That's a little bit different of a style where you're always bumping into each other.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think there's a lot of NASCAR drivers that could like jump into F1 seamlessly
Right, yeah.
either. But I always like kind of wondered, like, because like I feel like there's always like that like side by side comparison of like who's like more talented or something like that,
Right,
And
yeah.
I mean, I feel like you have like the same like split decisions as you do in racing on both sides, but I think it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you saw this, but Denny Hamlin won back to back in Michigan this weekend. So that was kind of cool to see. He tied Kyle Busch for most Cup wins too,
Wow,
or he
yeah,
just
that's
tied Kyle
amazing.
Busch maybe in general. So I bet that was pretty emotional for him. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie, he rocked
absolutely.
like the flag for it too. So that was kind of cool to see. I saw a wreck from Carson Hocevar. I don't know if you know him. He's like a younger driver. He's like a couple years younger than us. And like this dude is like every mic that they get from like other drivers is just like, God, this dude just gets way too freaking happy when he gets like a green flag, because this dude, he always is bumping, bro, and he caused a big wreck this week like on lap 83. Everyone was pissed, and then I just remember this one line from one of the crew chiefs. He's just like, yep, of course 77 was the one that did it, and of course he comes out clean. Yep. But I mean, I'm kind of getting into NASCAR ever since Kyle died. Like, I don't know why, it's kind of like reinvigorated my interest for it. So
That's good.
I don't know, watching like the
Nice.
Netflix docu series. Like, dude, I'm gonna go off on a tangent, but like, I don't know, NASCAR's like just kind of fun to get into because they're like, you feel like they're like just like us somehow,
Yeah.
almost.
No, yeah, it's definitely cool sometimes to see some of these racers kind of just be really, normal type of people. Like I mentioned, this guy Kimi Antonelli from F1, he's just a 19-year-old kid.
It's
So,
insane.
yeah, it's really cool kind of just seeing someone that's so young kind of get into the whole scene and everything and seeing the emotion that he goes through just winning these races.
Yeah, definitely, dude. I don't know if you know this, but Bussin' with the Boys, with Taylor Lewan and Will Compton, they started a NASCAR podcast just like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really? I didn't know
So
that. That's pretty cool.
I want to say they had Bubba Wallace and Ryan Blaney on. So it might be worth a listen. I don't know.
All right,
I've only
yeah,
seen clips so
definitely.
far, but dude, every the they're like Taylor Lewan and Compton. They're like on hosts of our side, and every season, I love this guy. He's such a young buck, doesn't give a shit what you think, and he's just like, this is why we hate him, right? So I mean, I might give it a listen here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, yeah, that
Let's
sounds
see.
pretty cool. So why don't you tell us a bit about the Rockies? You and I went to the game this past Friday. Obviously a bit of a heart wrenching game to watch. We have the lead the whole game, blow it in the ninth. We do have that rally to send it into extra innings, but ultimately lose the game. So why don't you tell us a bit about our struggles in the bullpen?
In the pen, yeah, you just don't know what you're really going to get from these guys. I know we're hurt and we're just not getting consistent outings from these guys, and they're being used a lot, especially since our starting pitching has been hurt since the start of the season. So that's I don't want to put like all the blame on them, but you have a 3-1 lead going into the ninth, and this is the fourth lead they've blown, which is the most in the National League after leading after the eighth inning. So I'm not going to say it's inexcusable, but it kind of is. I mean, and it's all at the same time. Hey, Coors Field score more than 3 runs. You could say that, yeah, but you also shouldn't be able to give up 4 runs in back-to-back innings to a team that had one hit going into the ninth inning. So I mean, just one game. That's why it's a 162 game season. And we didn't see the greatest outcomes on Saturday and Sunday. We saw Mizorowski on Saturday, so I don't even blame them for losing. That dude is nasty. People have said he has like the best fastball they've ever seen. That's like direct quote
Yeah,
from Hunter Goodman. So I'll take what he says on that one. And then Sunday, Freeland had a great start. And then first pitch out of the bullpen from Jaden Hill. And Gary Sanchez hits an inside fastball that's probably like 2-3 balls in on him, and he hits it 440 to left field. So I can't even like blame him for that, but it was just like, really, first pitch? Like,
yeah,
couldn't, save it a little bit? But
right.
I don't know. I think this is obviously a grind this season. We're not going to make the playoffs. Everyone knows that. So we just got to look for the positive things with what the Rockies are doing, and they're obviously doing so much better than last year. So that's all we could really be happy for. But like we saw tonight, and as you know, I told you, Cole Carrigg made his debut, and everyone's been raving about this dude in the organization. People have said, like, I want to say it was the guy that was like a big scout when they drafted Tulowitzki. He's the best talent I've seen since Tulo. If that's any indication,
Yeah,
hope and pray to God he doesn't have the same injury issues that Tulo did. But that dude could be an instant spark plug. Could be the guy that I would like look for in the future. Now I think he's got that moxie about him, dude. That like swagger, that confidence, that cockiness that I think the Rockies need. I mean, what do you think?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, it was really cool, obviously, to see him get that triple for his first MLB hit today. You could see him just hauling around the bases, and it's really cool to see someone young, someone that's been developing with us for some time, actually come through and possibly, obviously it's only been one game, but possibly be a big part of our future. So I'm hoping to see a lot more of Cole Carrick for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like some big questions that are going to be asked here over the next month and a half going leading into the trade deadline, because you bring a guy like Cole Carrigg in, he's a switch hitter, he plays center field. Um, Jake McCarthy's been playing well in center, but you slide him over to left. That's truly where he's probably should be, especially with Doyle's injury. But like when Doyle comes back, we all know Doyle's a great defender, but the bat isn't so hot. What do we do with Doyle? It's like a good problem to have because you have like so much talent, in the outfield, but there's almost like no place for Doyle to go if you want to stay with Carrick. And I feel like you almost should because he's young and very, very talented. So like, I'm like low-key scared for what's going to happen to Doyle because I love him.
It kind of feels like a similar situation to what happened years ago with DJ LeMahieu. It was kind of the same thing. He's a phenomenal defensive player, but his bat kind of just wasn't really what we needed it to be. And so eventually we kind of just moved on, even though we loved him so much, just because we had so much young talent at the same position. So I could definitely see kind of a similar situation playing out with BD.
Yeah, I'm hoping not. I love BD. Hope he gets healthy. He gets back to doing business. But like that outfield is just like so loaded now. I mean, I think Carrick can play, short. He can play second. He can probably play all around, kind of like Willie Castro can. But like when you have like Moniak, Troy Johnston, um, and the other guys I was mentioning, Carrick and Doyle and Jake, McCarthy, it's just like someone's gonna get booted. and you just don't know who right now. I mean, that's for people that have like are well above our pay grade and they get paid to make those decisions. But it's
Right.
just gonna be such an interesting couple of months for the Rockies, and I'm excited for it. That's just
Yeah.
like as a fan. So
Yeah. I mean, we're already in
it
a much better
probably
spot
means
than we have
we're
been. So
yeah we're in a position to sell. Obviously, if someone's willing to pay, you might as well. Now
absolutely. Yeah.
it's just like do you think these guys are going to be on the roster in 2 years? That's the question we got to answer. So, but you were kind of talking about it earlier today, but that Brewers game with the A's in Vegas was electric, dude.
Yeah.
Like
It's
it made
been
me wish we were in Vegas.
Oh yeah, it's been a crazy couple of games just to start the first series ever in Las Vegas. You know, they had 11 home runs in that game you're mentioning, 15-14, and then today they have another 6 home runs in the game. So it's obviously a hitter's ballpark and a lot of fun to watch a game there, I'm sure. So hopefully one day we can catch one.
Well, I don't know if you want to do it, but dude, the Rockies are playing there literally on Friday. So, I mean, hear me out. But I mean, dude, tell the listeners about our little almost that we had on Friday.
Man, yeah, we almost just hightailed it to Vegas on a whim. You know, we said that if we got a foul ball at the Rockies game, we'd go, and we got that foul ball. Unfortunately, didn't pull through last second, but we were seriously considering it. We were right there.
Dude, there was a definite like, hey, we're probably going here for like a solid like 5 minutes when what, like, and shout out Matt, low key such a pussy for this, but like he was like he's like I don't know how many times he's like, bro, if you do this, I'll go. If you do this, I'll go. Like, like I don't know how many times we had to say yes. Like, dude, we'll
Yeah,
do anything. We don't care. We just want to go. And dude, just like, and then he's just like, all right, so if we do go, what's the plan here? We're just going back to our cribs, packing a Duffy, and then heading out. I'm just like, yep, that's exactly what we're doing, Matt. 100%. And dude, it's just like we were like calling his bluff every single time. He finally put his foot down. I was just like, bro, come on. We got nothing to lose, bro. We got to do some of these
yeah, why
nights.
not?
But I mean, we'll do it eventually. I was
Yeah,
literally thinking
absolutely.
about it and I was like, dude, we got to plan like a Vegas trip now.
Yeah, we do.
um, but that kind of like just wraps up like MLB in general. I mean, we had a fun night at the game. I got a signature from Corey Sullivan. Shout out him for that.
Yeah.
That was pretty sick. But we saw the Knicks take the early 2-0 lead. We saw the wrap up on what was that? That was on Friday, yeah. And then they lost game 3 at home to the Spurs, and the Spurs needed it, obviously. But talk to me about that, man.
So, I might have been a little late on my prediction, but I'm right about there. After game two was so close, the Knicks took game one pretty handedly. It wasn't a huge win. It was still a pretty close game, but it was a relatively definitive win for them. And then game two was much closer. Came down to the last possession and came down to Wemby having that turnover and that rookie mistake. And so, we're seeing that kind of inexperience and that young kind of core from the Spurs show a little bit against the experienced Knicks in those first two games. But then, like I said, the Spurs figured something out. A lot of people obviously are saying that refs were kind of on the Spurs side for a lot of that
Dude,
game, and
you're kidding, right?
it definitely, it definitely that second half was a little rough to watch in terms of the foul comparison onto how many fouls each team had. But regardless, both teams were hacking each other. You could definitely see Wemby getting thrown around, but you can obviously see obviously on the other side as well there were a lot of fouls that were not called. And so this one was a more definitive win for the Spurs, especially given that they went away from their home and took this big win to prevent themselves from falling down 3-0. And so you kind of just wonder if they're going to be able to keep up this, if that's going to be something that disheartens the Knicks. I mean, if the Spurs are going to be able to, maybe they really did figure something out and see if they can keep it up, or maybe the Knicks will learn from their mistakes that happened back against Milwaukee years ago when they took that early 2-0 lead and maybe bounce back after losing that first game.
Yeah, I mean, to go into MSG, sold out crowd, that crowd was rocking. You could like feel it just watching it. Um, it's impressive what they did. Do I think it's going to be the end result of them going in again and winning it? It's going to be tough. Obviously, they could do it. They showed they could do it. I just don't know. It's two great teams, great players. They're like just not afraid of the moment. It feels like, but it feels like the Knicks are just not afraid of it a little bit more because I feel like the Spurs like they just have those little fuck up moments, like in those crunch time minutes, man. That just doesn't show me that they're ready to win a championship sometimes. And that's why they lost the game too, as you saw, and we kind of talked about it in game two. But like, I'm kind of like, I'm sold on the Knicks winning this. I don't care. I don't care. They lost game three. They have home court advantage still. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
they can
think I
do it.
would say I'm sold on them winning, but I do have to say that when it comes to crunch time and those clutch time shots, like you mentioned, there is a clear comparison, a clear difference between the two teams, and I think that a big root of that comes from the experience each of those teams have. So the Knicks have been in the playoffs for years now, and they've been this same team for a long time, so they know what it's like to be in these big moments. So you see Jalen Brunson go up, and he's been hitting some crazy clutch time shots, even if he's been shooting badly throughout the game. I mean, it especially showed in game one. You know, he started out the game shooting horribly, like what 3 for 15 or something like that. But then in the last minutes of the game, just absolutely popped off and was hitting every one of those shots that he needed to hit, and that's what brought him to that game one win. So, you know, I don't think it's all written. I wouldn't say that I'm 100% convinced that the Knicks are going to win this, but I do think that the experience or lack of is showing a lot in this finals, and I think it is going to be a big deciding factor for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't think it's like exactly set in stone they're going to win. Do I think they're going to win? Yes, but I just there's something about the Knicks that you're just like you almost don't even want the Spurs to win. Can't be this easy. Can't just draft a guy first overall, get a shitty pick the next year, get another great player, get another great player. It's not this easy. Okay, they need to go through some hardship, some loss, and I was like sitting there just like, dude, fuck the Spurs. They don't get to win this easily. Look how long the Knicks have struggled.
Yeah, but then
First
you see
finals
how
in
these New York
27
fans are
years.
acting, and then you don't actually want New York to win.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
The
Didn't look great. They were
way
fucking
the way these
bugging on
guys are
some
acting,
these
yeah,
fans, bro.
trashing some of these Spurs fans. Ugh, it made me not want to see the
I mean,
Knicks win. You
that's
know,
New York,
if
bro.
it's
That's New
just the
York. That's
team,
how they
yeah.
are everywhere.
If it's just the team, I have loads of respect for the Knicks as a team. I love Jalen Brunson and
Especially like
Josh
those
Hart and what they've
players, dude.
done,
I
but
can't like hate on them.
yeah. But you know, then you
Yeah,
see New York as a city, and it's just like,
it's just a shithole.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, obviously. But if they win that, like if say that goes to game six, Knicks are up 3-2, and they win it, dude, better pray.
yeah,
Pray
it's
for
gonna
those
go
like
insane.
few Spurs fans there, bro. They're gonna die.
Yeah, yeah, it's not gonna be a
I
good sign
mean,
for them.
you can kind of like tell me a little bit about like what your thoughts on this, but I saw Stephen A just going off on our president attending the game. I have no problem with him attending the game at all. Not a single issue. I think it's kind of cool that our president gets to go to an NBA Finals game, make his presence because it is our sport. He does it in MLB, he's done it in NFL, and the fact that this guy just goes off on it, like, I mean, hate or dislike the
I
guy,
I think
or
it
hate his like
has less
thought
so to
process.
do. I think it has less so to do with him just showing up. More so, not only did he show up and shut down these watch parties, prevent a lot of fans from gathering
He
outside
did,
the
yes, he
arena
did
like they
that.
have
Yeah,
been, but then he also showed major disinterest in falling asleep during the game. And so, as a
that
president,
was not
you
him falling
don't
asleep. Come on,
he
man.
was asleep. He was asleep.
No,
As a president, you don't fall asleep during a major sporting event, especially if it caused many fans to not be able to do such an attendance as like the watch parties,
I
which
mean,
is
I
a big part of
agree.
their
If
culture this
he's
year.
falling asleep, if he's falling asleep, yeah, I 100% understand. Like that's why are we even showing that for one? Just like, how people got other agendas, bro. They just want to fucking feed. I swear to God. But I mean,
I mean, does
he's
Donald
president of
Trump
our
really
country.
care about the Knicks? No, we know Donald Trump
No,
doesn't give a shit about the
obviously
Knicks. So
he
it's
doesn't
a
give a
shame
shit
to
about
see all these
anything.
Knicks
But
fans not be able to attend a watch party because of his presence there.
yeah, and then I mean, they start booing him when they show him
Yeah, I
during
saw
the
people
national
saying it was
anthem,
like
bro. I
they weren't
fuck
booing
that.
him,
No,
but
I
it was
can't do that,
definitely they
bro.
were booing him.
Nah. I can't get behind those fuckers on doing that, bro. It's our president, our commander in chief. He's saluting. When we sing that national anthem, certain things I feel like should be written in like it's like written in the sand, essentially. Like it's just like certain things you just don't do. That's I think like one of them personally. Like honestly, when I see people not taking their hats off at Rockies games, I get a little annoyed because it means
Yeah,
something
I mean,
else. It's not just one thing when we sing the national anthem. It's so many other things it stands for.
I think it just
But
goes to
that's another
show.
topic.
I think more than anything, it just goes to show what would you call it, the separation, the how badly separated we all are as a country, the division that we have as a country. Like you said, these used to be American traditions that you would get tomatoes thrown at you for if you broke them, but it feels like it is really common now. And I think more so than it coming from a side of disrespect, it's just, we've become so divided as a country that it's just become something that no one really cares to mention anymore.
Yeah. Hey, don't worry, bro. Altitude Problems, it's your home for the political updates and takes for the future, of course. Hey, that's where we're heading with this show, man. Yeah. Fuck the sports. Let's get into politics, the real problems. Because truthfully, I don't care who you are, bro. Politics don't fucking matter for most of us. Let's be honest here. It only matters for the people that are actually making the fucking rules. Otherwise, what has really changed in our daily lives other than seeing some dumbass shit from the White House Instagram account? That's the only thing that's changed for me. I don't know about you, but I could give less of a fuck.
Yeah, I guess it depends on who you are.
But
there's obviously still a lot of
yes, obviously. Yeah. I mean, I'm speaking as the white man, it has probably no effect. But anyway, yeah, let's get off base there.
Let's go ahead and move into some NFL talk.
Fuck yeah.
This, actually.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this, but did you see Josh Jacobs is back at practice?
I did. Yeah, he's been back at practice for I think a week or two.
Like a week or so, yeah. I mean, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on who you ask. It's a lot of the same story in the NFL. And no one ever really gets punished for domestic violence anymore in the NFL. So who knows?
They get the slap on the wrist, Yeah. I mean, what's your take on the whole Brendan Sorsby stuff?
Brendan Sorsby, I don't know. Tell me about the situation actually.
Texas Tech quarterback, he was ruled, ineligible, and then some bullshit ass judge in Texas, bro, got paid under the fucking money, under the table, probably granted him to play. It's just like, bro, get the fuck out of here, bro. Yeah. And now I love this. We are seeing so many Big 12 teams, Big 10 teams saying, hey, fuck Texas Tech. We ain't playing them. This is not how we're supposed to be doing things.
Yeah.
It's clearly the dude has an issue and he shouldn't be playing.
Absolutely. And it is obviously.
Where do we draw the line then?
Yeah, it is obviously some sort of corrupt position that somebody took, managed to get him another year of eligibility because it seemed like it was written he shouldn't have been able to play another year, and all of a sudden he is. So yeah,
it's just like you cheat the game, you Pete Rose it up, you Shohei Ohtani, you do all these things. He's still allowed to play, but that's another topic. But where does it end at this point? Like, can you murder a family of 4 and get away with it because just some one person says you can? No.
Yeah, no.
Dude, there's so many gray lines, bro, that people cross. Yeah. I mean, I love that like certain teams are boycotting against it. And we're probably going to get, what we want. And that's for him not to be playing. I mean, sucks for the guy. But hey, maybe you should be betting while you're on or when you're a backup quarterback in Indiana, bro. Yeah. Like, come on.
I mean,
we got nothing better to do.
Yeah. And if he gets away with it, it's just promote people continuing to do so without.
Yeah, it'll just be precedent for everyone else.
Yeah,
literally. Like people say, okay, he did it, I can do it, and especially when sports betting is so promoted, bro. Like
yeah, when it's become such,
it's becoming more and more. Sports. Yeah, like I swear to God, they always say, you shouldn't be gambling, you shouldn't be sports betting. Why is every fucking team promoting it then? Why is the NFL? Yeah. Why is the NFL? Why is ESPN? All these big ass companies just like shove it down our throats. It's just like, all right, yeah, don't promote it and then literally just stuff it down our throats like we have no fucking choice.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, anyways.
So tell me some locks and must drafts that you have for this year in fantasy. Who are some players that you
are we talking more like we're not talking about first second rounders now. Those are already locks.
Let's start with who would you, if you were one of one, who are you taking? There's four people who a lot of there's 4 players who a lot of people have a consensus as number 1. Who do you consider?
I mean, are we talking more, like super flex league like us, or are we talking like just in general?
Let's consider let's just call it
full PPR.
Regular
okay,
PPR.
So we're not taking quarterbacks first because that's what you do in super flex, but it's a tough choice, because like Jameer's there. He's supposed to be the bell cow this year. Bijan there, no Tyler Algier. Jamar, the Burrow's going to feed him. C-Mac is C-Mac. You know, the year I draft C-Mac, he's going to get fucking hurt. Puka's nasty. Like, there's not a lot of areas you really can go wrong. I think, like, in my mind, first pick, dude, that's tough. Like, you almost don't want the one.
Well, honestly,
but you
more
know,
than
at the same
anything, I
time, 1
think
through
as
5 is
long
not
as you
that
have a
bad.
top, yeah, I was gonna say as long as you have a top, I think the first 4 picks, you have 4 really legitimate players that are no matter what supposed to be a top player in the league.
So, is your top receivers Jamar, Puka, JSN?
Yes, those would be my top 3 receivers this year.
Okay, and then we got
pretty
obviously
basic.
Gibbs, Bijan, Caffrey.
I think for running backs, I really like Gibbs, but a player that I think is falling in draft position down to kind of late second round, early third round is Omari and Hampton. I think that Omari and Hampton is this year going to do wonders in that Mike McDaniel offense. I mean, we saw Mike McDaniel absolutely cook using the Von Achon in his rookie years. And so I think right now that Omari Hampton's going into his second year and has already gotten a bit of experience under his belt. And now he has a wonderful offensive coordinator like Mike McDaniel. I think that Omari Hampton is someone that's going to be falling really low in some of these drafts that should be a late first, early second round pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's crazy? Like I'm looking at like our ADP for like Superflex PPR, and on average, Saquon's getting drafted in the late third.
Yeah, there's some of these running backs that
are
really low.
I mean, I get it, but like fuck, man, like Saquon in round 3, like he had one bad year. Goddamn.
I was honestly going to mention if you don't have one of those top 5 picks, maybe top 4, it almost makes sense to try to kind of flip that one of those picks for more capital, possibly see what you can do. I mean, especially if you have some sort of
at least if your league allows it, at least.
Yeah, if your league allows,
like we do, of course,
draft position trades. Yeah, but I feel like kind of like that 5, 6, 7 position in the draft is going to be one that's not going to be very valuable because there's just so many toss-ups around that area. I feel like you mentioned, with Saquon falling all the way back to late third round picks, there's just so many players that people aren't sure if they're going to be big productive players this year or not. So I feel like if you don't have one of those top 4 picks, then you're kind of going to have to gamble on your guy after that.
Yeah, honestly, like you could really say, I mean, so I'm like looking at it right now, like let me just test you right here. Like if you have the first overall pick, we could go on 3. Who are you taking? All right, 3, 2, 1. Jameer
Gibbs. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So at least for consensus on that, but like the data is showing Bijan should be going 1. That's his average draft position. He's number 1.
That's not what I would say, honestly. It is kind of strange to me that seems to be the consensus, that he's the 1 overall pick.
Why do you say that? I think Bijan's a stud.
I think he's a stud, but I think it's more so situation-wise and the way that the offense is built. You know, Jahmyr Gibbs has been in this Lions offense for a few years and has worked with Jared Goff for a few years now. And he's going to be getting those touches, especially with David Montgomery gone now. I think that the offense now with Bijan is going to be it's going to be pretty interesting because I don't know if they know for sure what they want to do with that offense yet. And so I think, Bijan is a beast at running between the tackles, but I think you need to have a set kind of a good passing game through the air so that you have that room on the ground. And so I think that until the Falcons can really secure and find that passing game through the air, I don't know if we're going to see too much success from Bijan early on. Obviously, you're going to see some success and have that kind of baseline 12 to 15 points from Bijan, but I think it's going to kind of set his ceiling a little lower.
Yeah. I mean, you could honestly say though Bijan is like almost in the exact same situation though as Jahmyr. No Tyler Algier. And he's been a workhorse. He's gotten over 1,400 yards rushing the last 2 years. His TD numbers went way down last year from his second year in the league, but like his numbers were ecstatic, dude. And he's great out of the backfield too. He had 79 catches last year. Like you could argue Bijan could be the 1. And I'm honestly like thinking to myself now.
But one other thing that you do have to worry about is, his numbers for touchdowns were down last year because of Algier. And then sure, they got rid of Algier, but then they brought someone in that does exactly the same thing in robbing touchdowns in Brian Robinson as well. So, it's not like they completely got rid of who they believe would be the bell cow in the red zone because you need someone who's kind of going to eat those hits up. And, Bijan was always getting them down the field and getting them those extra yards. But then last year it was Tyler Algier who was finishing the drives.
Yeah, I guess so. But I guess if we're talking sleepers,
We're talking sleepers. I've got a few different things. So for one, like I mentioned, I think Omarion Hampton's dropping a lot lower in drafts than he should be. I think he's going to be one of the best running backs this year. But kind of a more legitimate, actual type of sleeper. I think this year, I think there's going to be a couple. It's going to be really interesting seeing all these different offenses and what they have to offer. So more so, like when I say that, I think the interesting thing is a lot of these guys, I don't think they know who they're going to be starting, and so I think it leaves kind of a lot of room open. So you see teams like the Jags, they don't really have a sure RB1 at the moment. They had
Bashal
Tootin
Tootin or
last
something.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then they picked up Chris Rodriguez to kind of help him out in the
yeah.
red
You don't have
zone
a
with
bell
those
cow
big
there,
catches. But
especially
exactly, yeah.
like it's
And so
Travis
the
Etienne.
interesting
I
thing
mean,
about
he's in
that,
New Orleans.
yeah. But I think the interesting thing about that is they don't currently have someone who they consider to be a bell cow, but that's what I think makes Jamari Taylor, the rookie that they picked up, kind of an interesting option and kind of a sleeper pick for this year, and someone that may even fall undrafted in a lot of leagues. Because I think with Jamari Taylor going to that team, you're already getting shoved straight into a team that doesn't really have a set RB1. They had some touches with Bashal Tootin last year, but he was more of he gets an occasional touch and gets a big gain out of it. Like you mentioned, they don't have a bell cow, someone who's constantly going to be carrying the rock. So I think it's very possible that someone like Jamari Taylor possibly ends up just shoving himself into that role just because there is nobody there at the moment. So I think he's going to be someone who, if you're kind of like have no idea who to draft in those late rounds, he's definitely a solid option. Another
Yeah,
option
I
I
like that.
think is going to be really good this year. Sorry, you go ahead. Actually, you go with the next one.
I kind of saw like some names just like sitting around like the 50 to 70 mark, and don't really understand. I think Scat. I don't know. I think 70 is kind of a reach. I mean, they're kind of talking sleepers, but I feel like he shouldn't be a 7th round pick. I think that's going to be like kind of like a committee backfield. I don't think he can handle a full load personally with how he runs and how stupid he is. But I mean, we're also seeing David Montgomery get a full time role in Houston at 82. You can get him not at 82, maybe at 90 or 100. That's pretty good. He's finally getting that like full time chance again. Travis Etienne at 54 with New Orleans, a little 5th round pick. Wouldn't mind spending that on him. I wouldn't spend it on Kyron Williams. That's for damn sure. If they're at the same level, take Travis Etienne. I mean, that's all I got for like running backs, I guess you could say. No,
I
like
think
two
there's
like
some other
sleepers. I'm
guys
not
that
going
are
into too depth, but
there's a few other guys that are dropping really low in some of these drafts. One of those, or I guess two of those, because they're right next to each other. Jadarian Price and Jacques Charbonnet. They both, you don't really know what's going to be going on in that backfield after they got rid of or lost Kenneth Walker. So it's going to be really interesting to see, who are they going to be, who's going to be the bell cow, who are they going to give the rock? Is it going to be a similar situation to where they're kind of just getting a 50-50 split, or or maybe, Zach Charbonnet, who's been having a lot of injury problems recently. Maybe they don't actually trust him to be the bell cow, so maybe they give Jadarian Price the rock a lot more. He's a lot younger. He has a lot more speed. So, I think Jadarian Price average draft pick right now at around the 140s. Crazy. I think that's a crazy value for him.
especially considering like he's a rookie, he got drafted in the 1st round.
Yeah,
For him
exactly.
going at
First round pick.
143 is just kind of. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
at the same
It's an
time,
amazing value.
Charbonnet is coming off a torn ACL too.
Yeah, exactly.
Charbonnet's
Which is
coming off
why
a
I'm
torn
saying
ACL. They
Jadarian Price is probably
signed
going to be the
what's his
bell cow
name?
in that instance.
I think I think they'll do probably a committee though to at least start the season.
It'll
They
be
signed
very
Emmanuel
similar
Wilson
to
from the
last year.
Packers too.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but you also have a new OC.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you got all these variables, man, with fantasy. Um, a name I saw kind of lower. And this you can also say both these names, but Steelers signing Rico Dowdle.
Rico Dowdle, I was just looking at that.
I think Jalen Warren is a fucking bum. Personally.
Well, I think the thing with Jalen Warren is he's absolutely not a bell cow. He's more of just a third down situation. He'll get you some blocks, he'll get you some pass down situations, maybe the occasional run to the outside, but if you're going to be pounding the rock, it's going to be Rico.
Yeah, and I think Rico, honestly, at his value, maybe he does some pass catching. He could be really good. I don't think that's his strength, but it could be. You never know. He's projected for 36 receiving because someone's got to fill in for Kenneth Gainwell, who went down to Tampa. So we'll see about that. And then kind of like the offset of what happened with Dowdle is Chuba is back in his full-time role. And we also saw Chuba at the end of 2024 dominate. And that lasts like 6 weeks. So might be seeing like a little resurgence with Chuba, especially since he was injured last year, like almost all year. It kind of ruined his season. So I'm kind of hoping he comes back from that.
You wonder then how much do the Panthers want to utilize Jonathan Brooks this year? He came off another torn ACL after being all injured in college, played 1 or 2 weeks in the NFL, tore his ACL again. But they're hoping that maybe he'll be healthy. And obviously, as a fantasy owner, if you have Chuba Hubbard, you're hoping that he does not eat into his role.
Yeah, I don't know if is Jonathan Brooks going to be. I mean, he's looking like he's back. He's doing 11 on 11 drills, so that's good for him. But just got to wonder, like, that's the only real danger you have to Chuba. And Chuba's capable of doing it. We all saw it 2 years ago. He was banged up all year, and he still kind of did it anyway in those later weeks as well. So I think Chuba could be worth a look at where he's been put at. I think that was around what? At 107, 11th round pick for Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, that's like almost no risk.
Phenomenal value. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me a quarterback you're kind of like not like one of those marquee guys. Maybe those guys are going to have like that crazy, season that you just never really see, but they sneak into like a top 10 quarterback and they're just like, or top 5 even. You just never really see it because quarterbacks are so congested in their rankings.
I think that this year you're going to see a pretty surprising year. So I think one of the more obvious ones that I'll mention first is I think that Caleb Williams will end up being top 3 quarterback this year. I think they gave him a lot of weapons, and I think that he's gaining more and more experience, getting a lot better. I think that he's going to have a huge step up in his career this year, and I think he's going to be one of the top fantasy quarterbacks because he does it both on his legs and through the air. But one of the more low-key guys that I think will end up having a top 10 year and a possibly top 5 year is I do think that Trevor Lawrence will actually have a really good year this year. I think we saw a really big step up from the Jags offense and Trevor Lawrence in general last year in comparison to the years prior. Last year, their offense looked practically unstoppable. And especially as a Broncos fan, I can attest to that. I mean, we had been locking down teams
shredded you guys
week after week, and then all of a sudden we faced them and we could not stop them. But we saw several games where they were putting up 40 bombs, high 30s. They're a team that could really score, and so I do think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be lugging the football. He has an endless amount of wide receivers this year. He has Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, PJ Washington. They have plenty of options out there to throw the ball to. So I think that especially with their lack of a RB1, you're going to see him possibly take off on the ground a bit and still throw it a lot through the air as well.
Yeah, I think you can make honestly a great point there. Just his inability of having that like number one running back, just where he can't just give it to someone on every down or most downs, and him actually having to go make a play could honestly really boost his value. And I'll let you know this right now. I mean, he was the 4th ranked quarterback last year in our league.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't be like news to anyone, but the fact that he's being drafted as the number 11 right now is kind of where you're like, okay, we see some value here.
Yeah, he played great last year, and I think he has a better offense behind him this year. So
yeah, Dak was ranked number 6, and he's being drafted at the 16 spot.
One thing you got to know about Dak, and Ian
think about that
every year. Ian says it every year. He has one bad year and then one good year. So he had a good year last year. Fantasy says he's going to have a bad year this year.
He gets hurt.
That's how it always goes.
It is kind of true though, dude. I mean, 6, 31, 3, 18, 8, 32, 2. Yeah. He's got a point there, but the question is, does he, in each of those seasons, he didn't finish the season. So does he get hurt this year? Is that what we're betting on essentially?
Probably. Whatever it is that prevents him from having a good year, he seems to follow that pattern pretty well.
Do you think Jackson Dart is worth the hype that he is for being drafted as the 7th quarterback on the board?
I do, because I think he's risky. And I think it's good and bad. I think being risky means he's going to make a lot of those big runs where he just takes off and he suddenly gives you like 2 points off of a 20-yard run, or maybe he manages to run it in and gets you a rushing touchdown. But then he also runs the risk of getting concussions or injuries. I mean, we saw it happen
Yeah.
last year. He went out and got smacked on the sideline, got a concussion, was out for 2 weeks. So there's good and bad to it. So I definitely do see that being a valuable pick, but it's still a risky pick at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, he was ranked as the 14th best quarterback last year and only playing 14 games total. And some games he didn't even play.
And one guy we haven't mentioned that I think is much lower on the draft board that I think could possibly be pretty good this year. I think Cam Ward does have a lot of potential for having a good year this year. I
I
think
can see that. Yeah.
last year a majority of his struggles were his wide receivers just kept dropping the ball. He had a lot of wide open wide receivers down the field, and they just could not come down with it. They were not helping him out on the field. So I think this year, with all the different additions they have in Wandale Robinson, Carnell Tate, and all the different Tamir DK is going to be a little bit better after a year of progression. They also had, who else did they have?
Still got Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley is going to be coming back from his injury as well. Alec Ayomanor was a pretty good rookie last year, aside from the drops.
Yeah.
For
Stanford.
So they definitely have plenty of options to throw the ball to, and plenty of weapons. So I do think that you're going to see a big step up from Cam this year too. So especially as the 19th ranked quarterback on the list, it's great value.
Yeah, I mean, is there any value in Shedeur?
Shedeur scares me. I have him in Dynasty. I think the biggest problem with Shedeur is I don't know if the team likes him enough to really give him an opportunity to start. For whatever reason, he's been scrutinized. Yeah, the league has scrutinized him his entire career, so I think it's going to be really hard for him to actually get that opportunity to start. But even in the opportunities that he's had, he did have the lowest completion percentage in the NFL last year. So it's not like he did have some moments where he kind of shined, but obviously there was a lot that he had to improve on and was still struggling. So if you're going to see him start this year, we're going to need to see a lot more maturity and a lot more improvement from him for sure, because he was making a lot of mistake throws.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say about Cam Ward too, if he just like shores up his turnovers, like he wasn't like throwing a lot of picks throughout the year, but he was fumbling a lot.
Yeah,
he shores that up, keeps control of that ball. At times he could like make that like crazy 1 year flip where they're somehow, 9-8 and barely in a berth for the AFC playoffs. You never know. Yeah. I mean, these things they're going to have an easier schedule too. Yeah, they're going to have an easy schedule. There's no reason why they can't. I think their coach is good. I truly do. I think Robert Saleh is a great fit. I mean, obviously, you kind of want like the offensive-minded coach for like those
and you get young quarterbacks. But you also get Brian DeBoer at offensive coordinator, which is a really big deal. Actually, I forgot
exactly.
To mention that.
Great hire.
Really, really big deal for Cam Ward in that offense. Yeah.
I mean, truth be told, I don't think the problem in New York was truly their head coach.
No, I don't.
The problem with New York is just it's New York. It's ownership. It's the GM. They don't know how to draft and they don't know how to develop.
No.
Like it's just simple as that. So that kind of wraps up our quarterback talk. But is there any wide receiver you're kind of looking at that you're just like
I have
must draft?
Sleeper. I don't know about must draft. I mean, obviously the three that we mentioned, Jamar, Puka, Jackson Smith, those three, you can't go wrong with them. I think Drake London is kind of enticing, but I really hate drafting players off of big contract extensions. I feel like every time a player gets a big contract extension, you see them kind of lay off a little bit because they don't have much incentive to play for. They don't have a contract to play for. So Drake London, although he is a really good player, is somebody I might honestly wean away from. Yeah. I think that someone you could see have a big year this year is going to be Chris Olave. He's going to be a contract player. He's someone who's going to be needing an extension. And I think now that he has other wide receivers around him, like Jordan Tyson, who they just drafted, he's going to have a lot less attention on him, and he's going to have a lot more room to make plays. So I could see Olave having a big year this year.
Plus that connection with Shuck kind of developing at the end of last year. You kind of saw it. You had him on your team, and he was pretty damn good for you, wasn't he, at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, him and Shuck were
I like that pick.
By the end.
Yeah. Kind of someone I'm like kind of seeing at around the like 110 to 120 mark. Wandale, like we were just talking about with Ward, he might just be like the perfect guy to check down to 1 million times a game.
Yep.
And run those little drags, those slants.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't mind that pick. A 12th round pick for Wandale, for us at least in our league at 120. That would be pretty good value. I mean, do you think there's any value with Xavier Worthy down at 141? I mean, we saw his kind of his potential, and Rasheed Rice. You never know what's going to happen with him. They don't really have any other receivers outside of him.
I think there's some
That could be worth a
potential
look,
there.
but it's always that Kansas City too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Is Kansas City? I think ever since Tyreek Hill, they've never really had that wide receiver one where they're constantly looking to that guy. Rasheed Rice is the closest we've gotten last year. We definitely saw quite a bit of production out of him, but even so, I feel like they just really know how to spread the rock, so it's really hard to have a must-start wide receiver for the Chiefs. Some of these other guys in between, though, that I think are interesting. I think if you look at the two Bears wide receivers, I think either or, if you take
Yeah,
either
why
Luther
is Luther
Burden
Burden
or
going
Morgan
hella
Moses.
high?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people be really high on
Dunze,
Burden this year over Dunze. Me personally, I like Adunze more,
I understand
especially
that,
for the
but
value. He's a lot lower on in the average draft pick, so you can get him a lot later. He's a bigger wide receiver, so you're going to see a lot more kind of shorter check downs, trying to get those first downs, trying to get those short yardage situations to him. Luther Burden's going to be the kind of guy where you see those big shots taken down the field, so he has more potential and a higher ceiling for more points, but I feel like you're kind of running a risk in that you're hoping that he gets one of those deep balls to get you those points versus Rome, who's going to get you constant catches.
yeah, and especially because you're going to be filling in the shoes of DJ Moore, who also could be a huge pick. Because I mean,
For
anyone
Buffalo.
with
Anyone with
for
Josh Allen,
Buffalo,
yeah.
like you can't really like say no to that, And he was. It's not like he really was bad. It's just sometimes he couldn't get the ball to him. That's all DJ.
Right.
I mean, DJ Moore is still 29. He's on his third team. I don't think he's really that bad. I'll tell you what. Don't fucking touch a Packers receiver in fantasy, in my opinion.
I actually have to disagree with you on that one. I think
Fuck
this year
that. Fuck them.
I
No,
think Matthew Golden is going to be a very good receiver this year. I'm
I
calling
think
it
he's gonna
now.
be good. I hope he's great. Yes, but I'm not wasting a pick on him, bro. I'm not
I would waste
wasting
a
out a
pick
pick
on
on
him.
like. I mean, what is he getting drafted at? That's the real question. He might go
Let's see,
undrafted
where
in
is
our
he?
league.
He's actually really low.
184.
184. That's
Hell no.
phenomenal value.
That's
I'm
an
taking
undraft,
him.
man. But
I'm
that's an
taking that
undraft.
value. But listen.
I mean, as a
Matthew
15
Golden,
pick, yeah, I could see
rookie
you
year
taking him.
last year. Exactly. It was his rookie year last year. You didn't see too much out of him,
I
but to
I
be fair,
know
the most he saw the field was like week 3 against Cleveland, it looks like, or week 7 against Arizona, where he saw
it
70%
was
of
the wild
snaps
card game
max.
against the Bears is when he saw the best, dude. That's
Yeah,
when
it was a
everyone.
massive
That's what
win for
everyone's
that
kind of like
position.
freaking out of, and probably gonna do what you're doing is like overreact to like what he's doing. I will say though,
Well, I
they
think
did
with
lose
Romeo Dobbs
Dobbs and
gone,
they
yeah,
did
exactly.
lose Dontavian Wicks to the Eagles. So that opens it up for him. Yes, dude, this fucking team doesn't know what the fuck they're doing half the time, dude. I'm like obviously I'm a little critical on Green Bay because they're my team, but like the whole entire time, dude, you just never know what type of game you're getting out of Love. You never know like are we gonna shove it down someone's throat, run it down them because we can't do that on some teams, or are we gonna let Love air it out with Josh Jacobs kind of like up in the air? Please God, let air it out. I want to see the true version of him because we always see him off in the play action, when it opens it up. So we'll have to see. But like,
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know. Who gives a shit?
I'm taking him, especially that late in the draft, 184. I mean, that's if possibly, like you said, it's possibly undrafted territory. I'm taking him with one of my picks. I'm taking the risk.
Yeah, I mean, Buka.
Other than
Are we
that,
trusting Mike
one
Evans
of the
on
teams
the Niners?
actually, I think actually yes. I think Mike Evans is built to be a PPR type of demon, especially now at his old age. When he was younger, it was a lot easier for him to go downfield and try to fight for that ball. I think with his old age, he's going to be the kind of guy who just gets you those short yardage situations, those out routes, those in routes, those slants, tries to get you a first down, tries to make the third down easier. So you're going to see him get a lot of these really short catches for, 7 to 8 yards, maybe less. But it's going to, if you're in a PPR league, it's going to be really beneficial for you. So especially the way San Francisco is built. They're a really systematic type of team. They really like to just kind of move methodically down the field. I do think Mike Evans is going to be kind of a PPR demon this year. But one of the teams that I wanted to mention this year, actually, where I think a lot's going to be up in the air, and especially if you're in a dynasty league like us and you're in need of wide receivers like me, I think that the Dolphins are a really interesting team to look at because the Dolphins have nobody on that team. I mean, they have like Tutu Atwell, Parker Washington, maybe. I think they might have even lost Parker Washington. Point being, they do not have a solid
No,
sliding
he's their
core.
number
So I
one.
think Is he? Yeah, well, there you go. And so they just do not have a solid starting wide receiver core. And so I think if you start looking at some of the guys that they're bringing in, such as the rookie that they have, which let me double check what his name is. Just picked him up.
Kevin Coleman, Taj Washington, Chris Bell. I think it's the name you're
No,
looking for.
I'm thinking of something Douglas.
Okay.
There you go.
Douglas.
Caleb Douglas.
Caleb
So I
Douglas?
think Caleb Douglas is a really interesting pick here because he's going to be a rookie. He is a 6'4" rookie who ran a 4.39 40 at the combine. So, if you're just looking to have some sort of receiver in that core who's just athletic and makes big plays, he's going to be that guy. He has the size, he has the speed. They picked him in the third round, so they obviously pegged him for some sort of a talent on the board and really wanted to have him in that core. And so I think, especially with all the question marks that we have up in the air, if you're in a dynasty league like we are, and you're really looking for kind of a wide receiver that's going to fill in roles, I think a lot of these rookies that are running into these teams that don't have wide receivers are going to be interesting. So the Dolphins, the Ravens are a big one. The Ravens don't really have any set wide receiver one or twos, and they just lost Isaiah Likely as well. So they went out and drafted Jacoby Lane as well as Elijah Surratt, and I think both of them are pretty well owned in dynasty leagues, so it might be hard to pick them up. But I think either way, anywhere in fantasy, I think those guys are actually going to be some pretty interesting picks too. They might go undrafted in a regular league like ours, but given that the Ravens don't have a starting wide receiver, but they still have a phenomenal quarterback like with Lamar Jackson, I think that they're really enticing picks for this year too.
Hey, bro. LeJohntay Wester.
LeJohntay Wester. There you go. He's only a return man though. He's not a. He
But
got a
Chris
couple
Bell,
passes.
yeah, he didn't do
But is he the
shit.
guy that retired?
Chris Bell and Caleb Douglas, they were both drafted in the third round from Miami this year. Chris Bell's coming back from an ACL injury, but I don't know if he'll be ready for the start of the season. But there's some value there. I'll tell you what, because we were talking about Ravens, Matt Hebner, the rookie tight end, kind of replacing that tight end two role, alongside Mark Andrews. That could be a name to watch out for. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver too. But I mean, we all know Zay Flowers is going to lead that field.
Yeah, he'll
There's
definitely
no
be
doubt
the wide
about that.
receiver
And
one, but
it's not like
there's a lot of question marks up in the air after him, so a lot of room for someone to slide in there and take that position for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll definitely have to keep an eye on all these guys, man. Fantasy's such an interesting world, feels like. You never know.
Definitely.
There's always one guy that he's like, oh shit, I should have had him, should have drafted him, should have picked him up in week 4. And then some schmuck buys him for $50 on waivers. So
yeah, with my lack of wide receivers, I've been trying to just pick up whoever I see is most athletic out here. So I got everyone's been raving about Xavier Thomas from LSU going to Chicago as well. He ran a 4.28 40 at the combine this year. So obviously, if he can somehow snag that wide receiver spot, if he can snag that wide receiver 3 spot, that would be an awesome addition to anyone's team. Caleb Douglas, big guy, ran fast 40. Another one that was kind of interesting to me that I don't see this one really panning out, but it's possible. Jeff Caldwell goes to Kansas City. Kansas City doesn't really have, other than Rasheed Rice and Xavier Worthy, they don't have a wide receiver 3. Jeff Caldwell, 23 years old, 6'5", really big guy, really fast, ran a 4.31 40, which is ridiculous. So anyone that's playing with Patrick Mahomes, if you can get that guy in space, he's going to be a problem. But he's also kind of like the 6th or the 7th wide receiver listed on there. They did draft they drafted Jeff Caldwell, I think, in the 5th round. So he's not he's more, or no, sorry, not Jeff Caldwell. Jeff Caldwell's what I'm talking about. Cyrus Allen they drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of one of those where you look at the athletics and you hope that maybe something happens out of it. But obviously that one's kind of more of like if you really have any room on your team for dynasty.
I think we honestly could see Tyquan Thornton taking over that wide receiver 3-year-old though. He got re-signed to a 2-year, $11 million deal. Yeah, I think when he was, there was a certain portion of that season when Rasheed was like coming back where like you're just like, okay, is Tyquan Thornton like the guy for Mahomes? He's super fast. He was amazing in Madden, in those fantasy drafts that I always had, and he's my dog. But he's almost like Tyreek Hill-esque, because he's fast as shit. they're always trying to recreate that. It feels like in Kansas City, so he could definitely be an option too for like a maybe a dynasty pick. I guess I wouldn't say like regular because there's so many better options obviously in the wide receiver 3 on Kansas City, but definitely someone to look at for dynasty.
Yeah, definitely. And
But
honestly, I completely forgot about Tyquan Thornton. That's a good point. I actually do think that Tyquan Thornton could be really valuable in that offense because, like you said, he's just the wheels. So every time that Patrick Mahomes has anyone with that kind of speed, he makes use of it.
yeah, definitely. We're getting almost to an hour on here, so let's
Yeah,
like
we just hit an
let's kind of
hour.
wrap this thing up. This is by far our longest episode, listeners. So good long session about just straight fantasy. So but let's get into our bet of the week for tomorrow night's game. I'll kind of share my my little bet here. So you could tail, you could fade. I don't give a shit. These are locks, obviously, right? Castle 16.5. I believe he's hit this 4 of his last 5. OG, same thing with him. Champagne's been a beast. Wemby, fuck his over on the boards, bro. He doesn't get boards. He's big for nothing. And McCall's been lights out with rebounds and assists. Brings out to plus 16-15. You got any thoughts on this and what you may or may not change with my takeoff bet?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're just trying to play it safe, I would maybe just lower Champagne's points to right at 9 rather than over 9. Champagne primarily shoots threes, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him hit three threes. I think that would be a lock for sure. But you never know if, for whatever crazy, ridiculous reason, he only hits the three threes and ends with just 9 points. So if you're trying to play it safe, I think safest bet would be to be right at 9. And then I think for rebounds over under, I think I do agree that we're probably going to smack the under because for whatever reason, Wemby has kind of seemed to struggle at getting those rebounds, but you are seeing his teammates pick up the slack. I mean, you called it for game 1. Dylan Harper got much more than 4 rebounds, and since then, I think in game 3 he got like 9 or 10 rebounds. So the guards are going crazy on the boards. Wemby's getting the box outs rather than get the boards themselves, and it worked out for them this last game, and he only got 8. So definitely it seems like something that you wouldn't really want to tail, and it seems like maybe kind of a weird leg to be on here, but I do think that it is a strong leg.
Yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate big country and PB. We like to give out the locks that are never actually locks. So
Hey, we were close last week. We got our legs.
Yeah, thanks to the native, that
The
fucking
native was
idiot.
right there. He was right there. We'll give him that. He got the 12 out of 12.5.
I told this bastard before the game it wasn't hitting.
Yeah, we were right there.
Anyways, yeah, we were almost close to our first green slip of this young podcast, but
Yeah.
hey, it doesn't mean we can't cash tomorrow. It's obviously very plus odds, and you can manipulate these lines a little bit, but it makes it a little bit more fun. So we'll have to see how we do for tomorrow. But give me that Denver sports fact of the week real quick.
Yeah, just a fun fact of the week. Our Colorado Avalanche captain, Gabriel Landiscock, did actually become the first player in NHL history to win both the Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy as well as the Marc Mezier Leadership Award in the same season. And that was following a crazy return after a near 3-year absence due to cartilage transplant surgery. So,
shout out to the Cap. We need him. Been needing him now. I swear to God, these teams don't know what it's like to be without a captain for 3 years, man. That's just insane. Shout out to Gabe and holding it down for the year. But yeah, we appreciate you guys listening to episode 7 of the Altitude Problems podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you want to see my dumb, ugly face, head on over to YouTube and we'll be posting shorts, TikToks as well. So follow us on there as well and on IG as well. So you guys have a good night and yeah, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Yep.